Please be aware that the podcast you are about to listen to is intended for mature audiences. It takes on topics such as mental illness, violence, abandonment, trauma, and in general, the end of the world as we know it. Please take care of yourself as you continue to enjoy our episodes. Take breaks as you need to.
So, discussion.
Wow.
Yeah, no, take a moment. Take a moment. I know that was a lot.
God.
Damn, I thought you were gonna pull a Saint Elsewhere for a second, where I just have the snow globe. And
How is everyone feeling?
Nah.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Same. I mean, that was a really beautiful, send off, but damn, that was hard.
Yeah.
I've never had a character of mine die before.
Yeah. How are you feeling? Because character deaths can be really, really hard, and we have been playing this game for we've been talking about it for over 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Vita, how are you feeling about Aya being consumed by this demon?
I feel like there was no other way.
Yeah, y'all rolled real bad there at the end. That was
terrible.
Yeah.
I'm
Terrible.
still looking
Real
at
bad.
these
That was
straight
awful.
threes that happened.
Yeah, 6 straight threes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I had drowned and Imani had passed the fear test, maybe then. But there was, and it became so much more enticing. It was I am so close to death, right? I think by the time AI finally gave in, I was at 2 stress left.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah.
You were that low? Damn.
Yeah. When I say I was near death, I meant one wrong move or bumping into the Stormbringer again, and that was it for me, period.
Oh my god, I didn't realize you were that low. Shit. Yeah.
And
wow.
with no rest in between days, I never got any of it back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So then it was who knows? I'm imagining that this person is literally being stung by the salt of their own sadness, you know?
Yeah.
But because
That's so deep.
a wall of magic just went and wrecked her shit. So there was nothing left. And the only thing flat life flashing before your eyes type moment, the only thing that when I was in character, the only thing I could think about was them. You know, it was this offer of making up for what felt like a literal lifetime of loneliness. And was am I gonna die alone in the bottom of this tank next to this last chance that we barely had to begin with? Or am I gonna go home? Am I gonna go home to the last version of home I'm going to get to experience? Not to mention, hopefully, that actually like saves people. So it was the only choice by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the tough thing there too is like for Aya, she doesn't even know, right? Like even when you like hear your family, like yeah, you have a sense of okay, that part of things is true, but like you will never know if everyone else actually made it out okay. And that's like what I was sitting with.
Yeah, that's always a scary part.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
But then it would have been really like you either don't know if your friends made it out safe, or you know your friends didn't make it out at all. So I guess it would kind of sucks either way.
It's that idea of uncertainty, right? And like, granted, we didn't actually get through a lot of the signs, and so I knew that we were ending, and so I moved some of those in because regardless, like you experienced it in this episode, but honestly, you were always going to start getting these offers. Like you got one at the very beginning, and then if you all had succeeded and the days had kept progressing, you would progressively get more and more of these visits and these offers from this seemingly like creepy little friend that was like, why bother with all this? Take my hand and it'll all end. And so, yeah.
Well, and this woman has spent so much of her life knowing the opposite of that. It's like working, surviving, all the foster care and like getting into fights with kids over the strength she had. Like,
Yeah, it's like such a tempting offer to be like literally all your problems solved right here through door number 1.
Yeah. And I think that too is, and like trigger warning, because I'm about to bring up suicide. We're probably about to talk about suicide. Because I feel like that is, right, what that option, like that option of dying a lot of times is what, when I see folks and whenever I've experienced it, right, it's that idea of, well, I can, like, this can all just stop, right? Like, it can all just stop. Let's just make this stop. And, of course, it's so much more complicated than that. And also, that idea of having that ability, even if you don't go through with it, can be really powerful and really helpful sometimes as well. And I think that's the sticky part of death that we really don't talk about in the US. Like in the US, like the idea of death as like even an option a lot of times isn't entertained out of fear. And so it gets really weird when people are like, well, no, the thing I fear most is like being alive because it's terrifying. But then, right, like a lot of times, though, there's not that conversation about, okay, well, what would it look like to want to live? Right? Like, if the option is, well, let's keep doing this or let's not do this, that binary, that makes ending your life look really attractive in a way that we don't talk about enough. Even Kiana, I think you can agree, as providers, like our field is terrible when it comes to actually like meaningfully
Terrible.
talking about suicide and talking about death,
Right.
period.
Yep. Absolutely terrible. I mean, literally, the ask of us as providers is to involve the cops or some medical institution if we feel that someone's even remotely close.
Yeah.
And you have to make that like ethical decision, moral decision, like what to do in those moments, and yeah, I definitely try to normalize ideation, all of those
Yeah.
things. Just talking about death, talking about, yeah, thinking about leaving this earth is a relief for you.
Yeah.
And that's real. Like, no matter if you talk about it or not, that feeling of relief is real for you. So let's just talk about it.
Yeah. And then I know I've had people be really surprised when I didn't freak out when they were honest about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I shouldn't even say it, because that also is making suicide sound like a thing we can't talk about. When people are honest about wanting to die. But then the way I frame it, right? The way I frame this idea of dying is, okay, so that's always on the table. That's always an option. Like, I'm required to try to stop you. Like, if you say certain things, I have to try to stop you with whatever meager means I have. We can also talk about what is making you want to leave the earth? What would be worth staying? Because if we're talking about dying, we're talking about having nothing. So what's all the things that you've stopped yourself from doing because you were afraid? Let's test those things out first. Because if they suck and it doesn't help, we can always come back to this option. So what is it? Wanna go move out to a farm, enroll in an herbalism course, and live off the land? Okay, how do we do that? What are some programs you've looked at? Have you looked at programs? What are those options? Is it, wanting to move out, but you've been afraid because of, the blowback? Well, like, if we're talking about dying, who cares about the blowback? That, like, let's try it. And so I feel like this ending also opens that idea of, like, choices and changes in a way.
Yeah. It does something. There's like a... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I relate hella hard to like this moment that Aya is dealing with, like at the end of her existence, and this like this idea of like, when does that option become difficult? It's like, and sometimes it's like one thing leading to another thing. In this case, we had like, it was almost like the dice knew. It was kind of creepy in a way.
Yeah.
It was almost like the dice knew that this is where our drop off point was.
That's so real. That's so real.
Because then it was like one thing after another and after another and after another. And then this whole like boiling point of like, this is an extreme, but this extreme hits people so hard all the time. It's not necessarily being like attacked by something that can literally throw a wall of magic at you.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's just like, sometimes it's just like being a bullied teenager, or like, just like moving through any of this other shit that people have to move through just to get through a society is like toxic, and like, like a society that profits off of like the helplessness of human beings.
Oh, that's so real.
Anything to give yourself a new lease on life. You'll try anything. You'll buy anything. You'll believe anything.
Yeah, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, Vita, but I think there at the end, like, hope had become something that was, like, so externalized. Like, the only places of hope for Aya were, like, external, and so that also, like, what you were saying, that idea of, like, you know, trying to try anything to try and, like, find hope, but, like, never really finding it internally.
Yeah. Yeah, I mm-hmm.
Yeah, that definitely just, I don't know, that made me think of legacy. Like, that's all that legacy is, right? At least when folks think about it in terms of, yeah, what they're gonna leave behind. And for Aya, it was, I'm leaving the legacy of like friendship, essentially. I mean, I just want my, like, it felt like that was something you were so, that was a huge draw for Aya, right? I want my friends. I want this demon who totally sold us out. Even that person or that being. I want them to be okay. I want the world to be okay. So yeah, that like legacy of who you are as a person kind of being intact, even if you don't get to see it.
I hadn't thought about that really. Um, like in the sense of what's left behind, like the other stuff, definitely. But it's just like a wild um premise that I didn't catch. So super intense.
Very intense, yeah.
Jay, how are you doing?
I, what's funny is that I came into this expecting, like, today, I mean, expecting basically, my character to be the first one to go. Um, and now it's like, you know, she technically, like, made it out, but it's also like, it's kind of, it's really sad that, like, she won't remember Aya and that she won't remember what they'd been through and how they bonded. But it's also like a mixed bag because it's also like she doesn't remember a lot of the terrible things they had to go through to get to where they were, and the trauma and other things, and kind of also like sharing that with Aya in some degree. Um, yeah, it's like, it's sad, it's bittersweet, I guess. It's like, on one hand, like, it's good that, like, Imani makes it out, but it's also sad that she doesn't remember Aya, and then she's essentially still just going back to being kind of a hermit, um, not really interacting with anybody, and she never really breaks out of her own kind of cycle of isolation.
It's that's actually a point that I was sticking with too, because that actually made me feel really sad. Like, it was definitely bittersweet, because like, yeah, who would want to remember all that? But also, yeah, like, you don't experience that growth that oftentimes, unfortunately, stress, shitty things, and trauma brings, right? And of course, not to say you're grateful for a trauma, but certainly grateful for the growth sometimes. I know a lot of the folks I work with are like, I'm a completely different person than I ever would have been. And in some ways, they are connected more to their humanness, and they push themselves in a different way. And to them, that feels like it was helpful, right? The growth of it. But yeah, that definitely made me sad to think that some of that was lost for Imani.
Yeah, um, yeah. So that's how I'm kind of feeling.
Yeah, by the time we finished the campaign, Imani had taken a bunch of risks
Yeah.
and engaged with people in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's kind of wild to like think about like, wow, she's really not gonna remember any of that.
Yeah.
Like at some point, I mean, when you think back about it, like timeline wise, Imani winding up in that hospital was like the catalyst for the end of this campaign,
Yeah.
and she won't even remember that.
Nope. Yeah. Imani's ending is basically a reset button.
Yeah, because instead of getting hit with the sandbag that let me in the hospital, I fell off the ladder when I was fixing the Wi-Fi or attempting to.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how like the story for Saphira ended too, and definitely not in a sad way, but there was no. I mean, to be honest, I don't think growth was necessarily Saphira's. You know,
yeah.
Fair.
not her ministry, but still, there was still some.
Not the ministry.
I'm just saying, this is
Hallelujah.
like was not for her. But even then, like even towards the end, there was like this. At least I know internally, I was feeling like a move away from that self-centeredness that was there, right? I mean, obviously she had still sold y'all out and all of that kind of stuff, and but there was like a desperation at the end that felt, for me at least, like more than about trying to just get the seals. It was like, yo, these people are in trouble. I want to help, but then because of, Aya's ending, it was kind of like, oh, back to self-centeredness. I'm just gonna run away from these, minions who are after me now. Forget all that. It's time to, you know, focus on me again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time for before the archdemon comes back for someone else.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah.
So like literally the only thing anyone could do in this moment was oh god. Oh god. Sorry. I don't like saying this phrase anymore. Just because of, Panoramasaurus Rex here. Um the only option that existed was having everything go back to normal until it
Mm.
showed up again.
Yeah.
Yep. But as you now know, right? Like most people will never even know.
Which is totally something I've been like diving into more recently is stuff around grief.
Yeah.
And that is, one of the things that I sit with a lot is the ways in which everything in your life stops and then everything around you is still moving. And you're just
Yeah.
looking around and you're like, how is everyone still moving and going on and everything is quote unquote normal? And that's definitely this story here. Most of the people in the rest of the city, it's a different kind of not normal, but it's still their normal, not normal. And this was like huge for the characters, for the human
Yeah.
characters more specifically. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that too also is a good like point when it comes to like grief and traumatic events and all of that kind of thing because with a few obvious exceptions, a lot of times those things, especially in this culture, are very individualized, right? Like it happens to you, and only the people you tell know, only the people, around it are around it. And then, like, the rest of the world doesn't even blink. And in a lot of ways, like that circle gets bigger when it's something like a hurricane or an earthquake or something like that. But when it comes to something worldwide, those are really, really rare. Or at least, till recently.
Right.
But like that also is, so isolating. That's one of the things of like when we don't do it right, when we're such an individualistic society, like that's part of what we're missing. That's part of what we don't have, is that communal aspect of healing that is so needed and so integral to real healing from trauma. Is, there's all of these, trainings and methodologies and therapeutic techniques that, yeah, they work on, they work on some level, but that level of relating to community and having other people is like a whole nother thing, because when you feel like you're the only one and the world doesn't give a shit, that's a lot, and that's a wound of its own right. And I think that's something that, like, especially like my interpretation of this game as written, right, was, and you see it in how we ended, is a like, your world ends. And so like I decided to take that more literally, right? In game, it was the world ends. But like in my mind, the whole time that I'm like planning the story and writing things and everything, it very much is a your world. Whoever you choose as part of your world is who is in danger, right? So like I'll be really honest, because we're done. Like, in the campaign, we're done. This is it. So I can tell, I can like pull back the curtain now. Vita, at the end there, if you had not have taken his hand, Imani would have died too. The only reason Imani woke up in the hospital bed was because you took his hand. Imani absolutely would have died, because Imani would have stayed part of your world. So Imani would have also ended.
Whoa.
Damn. What a sacrifice. What a choice.
So, just kind of like a GM note, the reason Saphira ended is because Saphira was directly linked to you by feeding off of your anger. So Saphira was still part of your world. So Saphira also ended.
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
Because for me, in my reading of this game and of this book, right, like there's the idea of like the big, oh man, the world's ending, we gotta save it. And I don't find that nearly as interesting as the idea of your world is ending.
Well, and like, even in getting the first seal, the cost was like family. Literal family. Like, the cost was family. Yeah, there's that degree. It's like maybe a degree of separation at most with most of the people that AI engaged with, at least in this campaign. That's so rough. Because then, like, yeah, totally, Imani gets saved, right? World gets, saved, but Imani doesn't even get to remember anything.
Yeah. No.
And like Saphira's now on the run.
Yep.
Who knows what happens to them?
Yep. The harasser didn't leave you on purpose. The role that Saphira kept barely like making, he failed.
After a while, I figured that was what happened. But darn.
No, I thought he just ditched us. Dang.
Nah, he tried to stick around and he got. He failed.
I'm trying to imagine the dialogue had he survived.
Yeah.
What?
So there were 6 seals. You all experienced 2 of them. And so the first one was a symbol of letting go of your like hurt towards your siblings. The second one was moving through your sadness instead of getting stuck in it. If you had passed, you failed. So you got stuck in it forever.
Oh jeez.
The third one was actually so the saboteur, you went after the wrong person. It wasn't Mandy. It was Ghastly Knox.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang, that was the drag queen, right?
Yep.
The host.
That was the new that was the newer performer. Yeah. They were a saboteur, which is a class of humans that actively agree to be in league with demons. And so they would have been kind of witchy in power. But you were supposed to face them next. That was the other thing, is I didn't expect you all to stay in the hospital. So I expected you to have more levels than you did. Because the greater demon was always going to be a mess. Also, the Stormbringer kept failing to catch up to you all. So congrats on that, because Stormbringer would have caught up to you, and then you'd had to fight again. So I also was rolling like shit all night. So we were on the same playing field there most of the time. And
oh jeez.
And so the third seal would have been themed around interpersonal trust.
That makes
and
sense.
would have been like letting go of distrust. That one was going to be tricky, but wasn't actually going to involve much combat. It was just going to mostly be like fear tests and stuff. So that was going to be the third one. The fourth one, that one would have been back at the lounge. If you had rolled better at the lounge, you would have found Ghastly sooner. But you failed those tests. There was one at Museum Campus that would have been themed around a like not getting stuck in the past. Because it was going to be at the Field Museum. Because I'm clever like that.
Yes.
Fancy.
Yes. Very clever.
Yeah. The fifth one was at Cinespace and was going to be themed around taking an active role in your life and not just like kind of letting it pass through.
What is Cinespace? It sounds like, is that a movie theater thing? Because the way it's spelled.
Cinespace is a bunch of like sound studios and stuff that's over near where Aya and Amani's like apartments are, and so like shows film there. Film students from around the city will have classes and stuff there, but it's mostly film stages.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so then there would have been one there, which I thought would have been one of the earlier ones you'd have gone to because it was close by both of your apartments, but you got really, really stuck on the idea of it having to have a direct meaning. So I then realized that one might be one of the last ones you found. But that could have also worked because it would have been slightly easier because that one would have just been kind of like the maze, but a little bit different, but you would have had to make like active choices about what happened. And so you would have essentially had to have like directed the space in a particular way in order to break the seal. Like it had been kind of like a time loop maze.
Oh, geez, no.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have been combat or anything. It had been like a puzzle of a time loop maze where you had to like go through parts of your life that you didn't make a choice and you just kind of let yourself be carried along, and you would have had to like redirect the choices into something active. So that was one
sounds
of the
so
seals.
fun.
Yeah, that was one of the seals that I had thought of. And then
That one kind of makes me glad I drowned beforehand.
oh my god. Okay.
Sorry. Sorry, everyone.
And then there was one that was kind of a toss-up, depending on where you all had gone in which NPCs y'all had like fallen in line with, because there was more NPCs for y'all to possibly like find and get help from. So the one of the seals would have either been at Rose Hill Cemetery, U Chicago, or Midway Airport. It would have been at one of those.
Okay.
And then there was a couple other places around the city, kind of like the magic shop. There were a couple other places around the city where you would have found helpful NPCs.
Yeah, that sounds dope.
that would be fun.
Thank you for telling us that.
Yeah.
Yo, truly.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that was not all the stuff, but those would have been all the seals that y'all had an opportunity to encounter. And I didn't know what order you all would go in, so like the theming and the difficulty and everything, I ended up, the way I did it was I like kind of randomized it. And it just so happens that like you picked one of the hard ones, and you stayed there, and it just didn't, like, the game's designed to be hard. So
I mean, we got straight up murked, so.
yeah. Because even in the beginning of the book, right, it even says, it will take everything you have, facing not only danger and death, but coming to blows with your own greatest fears, your unresolved issues, your scars that lie just beneath the skin. But you're not alone. Others have been dragged into this with you, and your combined presences have brought forward other demons, smaller, lesser ones, who you want to ally with you to avoid the dangers of the Archdemon's arrival. Perhaps they hold their own agendas, perhaps not.
Yeah, fucking perhaps, huh?
Yep. So, yeah, that was the other thing.
That's so wild.
Saphira did some shady shit.
Yeah. Yeah, she did.
Yep.
She did.
Saphira did not care at all.
Not a singular fuck was given.
It's not even one. There might have been like half a one, possibly at times, but
Half one.
maybe like half a one.
A quarter.
Yeah. But I mean, like, ultimately, if we find the seals, everybody wins. So maybe that's...
So it doesn't matter what I do to other people in the meantime.
Right.
That's the excuse.
The ends justify the
literally
means.
making their situation worse.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, Saphir's definitely a ends justifies the means demon.
Straight up.
Yeah. Got it.
So.
But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely have enjoyed playing this game. I want to like reread it and then maybe try it again, because I feel I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It was good, but I felt a lot of times, and I know we've talked about this a couple times, of like not fully knowing if we knew what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, fully knowing that I did not know what I was doing is
Yeah.
where I was at.
I was just like, okay, sure, let's do that. Let's look into this. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I mean, all that being said, I feel like there were some pretty fun decisions made across the board.
That's true.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, as we are wrapping up here, I think that is a question I really want to know. No duplicates. You can echo what someone else said, but you still have to pick one of your own. I want to know what everyone's favorite, like, scene or choice or part of the game was. It can be anything from the entire campaign.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's the banter for me. It was all the quips and the comebacks. Even in this one, we were literally like all of us near death, and we took a moment to be like, "Bitch, what did you do?"
Right. That's real.
You did what? And we're all like,
run that back.
Right. What
and Monty just being like, unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable. What were you thinking?
Right.
Yeah.
But like that energy, I think, existed throughout the entirety of the campaign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was really cool. Just like this idea of there's still the element of like, even when we are approaching the very end of the world, there is a moment of not taking it too seriously that I really appreciated throughout.
Yeah. I know for me that's different. I mean, I'm not gonna. I echoed that, but also just wanted to comment that, like, yeah, humor is definitely a huge coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And just having to not take things super seriously.
Agree. Y'all funny as hell.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're a demon, and I know you just told me that the world's in danger, but I got bills to pay, so
Right. So I'm gonna go
you
pay the
coming to work
bills.
with me, or
The hustle continues.
you're gonna have to
Catching
come
an
hang out with me
Uber.
at work before the end of the
Right.
world.
Right.
Yeah. Yo.
That's real.
All right. Who else?
I'll say like the NPC interactions, especially when you met the woman that ran the
You
like a
totally
clothes
took
shop.
mine.
Sorry, like like every time you did like a new voice, I'd have to like control myself to like not start cracking up because it was just like
Yeah. Celeste.
yeah, Celeste, yeah.
Y'all
then there
never got to
was-
meet Simon. You died before you met Simon.
Oh,
Aw.
yeah, I wrote that name down. That was from the shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw,
I was gonna say though, my favorite tangential character is absolutely the harasser.
yeah.
Like, no doubt.
Seconding
The
that.
harasser.
Especially when you do that little laugh, the like.
Yeah.
He's
He's just so slimy and shady, but also like, yeah, he's great. You know.
Yeah, he's like a 1950s like shady villain. Like he's got this like presumed air of class to him, but he absolutely just underhanded at all opportunities.
Yeah.
Could the harasser would have made a really good Disney villain?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, for sure that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, can we say Disney? Can we say Disney?
Yeah, I think so. We're not saying anything copyrighted. We're not like singing "Be Prepared" or anything.
No, that would be too far.
The rideshare thing is just because I effing hate the company that we all default to. So
Understandable. They are terrible. They all
Yeah.
are
Very,
terrible.
very understandable. That's real.
Understandable for sure.
but yeah. So Kiana, favorite part of the campaign.
I mean, I'm having a hard time thinking outside of the ones we already said because that was definitely, I mean, the harasser was definitely like my favorite. I think maybe I'm just thinking of this in this moment because we've been talking about it, but like, yeah, the fact that we were all just going along with whatever was happening and just like so unsure.
Yeah.
And maybe Vita, you felt way more confident than Jay and I. But it was just like, listen, we don't know exactly what we're trying to do or where we're trying to go, but we're gonna do it. And to be honest, actually, I think this too, the combats were a favorite of mine because of the like psychological stuff too, not even just the actual physical stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing with Aya's brother, like that was so wild to me. That was so wild. In like such a great way. I thought that was dope. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I like honestly, I think my favorite part of this campaign is just you all's reactions are so fucking good. I'm like sitting here eternally cracking my shit up. Because I like whether it was like your facial reactions, which our darling listeners don't get to see, or like the actual stuff that makes it into the episodes is just so good and like so helpful because I'm like a reaction junkie, and so I like want to know that everyone's having fun and that like the what we're doing is actually like engaging and hitting like it's supposed to and everything. And I really appreciate y'all being like engaged and here for it, even though like Jay and Kiana, I know this is like your first RPG and we picked a hell of a one for your first entry.
Yeah.
And then Vita, I know this is like also like you haven't played a lot either, and so this is just like a hell of a like harsh, deep, like hard, rough road of a game, and I just appreciate the hell out of all of you just being willing to be in it and do it all and then like put it out in the world for other people to experience. And I'm glad that you all continually loved my like burlesque names and stuff.
The
Yeah.
burlesque names
Those are
are
great
so
too.
so
The
good.
creativity is
Yeah.
wild. That was
Yeah,
so good.
the whole world, honestly, that you created.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
which
other
was
worlds
wild.
were dope too.
hmm
Thank you.
The other worlds were dope. The knowledge that you had to have in order to plan all of these different locations out, and it kind of made,
Yeah.
in a way, it kind of made Chicago feel like a new city.
Right.
Because I was like, oh wait, that's here too. When was that?
Yeah.
Like that's a real place here in the city of Chicago. Wild. Okay, nice.
Yeah, because there's like everywhere is either a real place or is based on like real places that I found and like twisted into something that like I didn't know if it was chill to just like use carte blanche, right? Like using a hospital is one thing, using museum campus is one thing, but like using small businesses and stuff that gets a little weird. So like those I like mashed them up and created something that like kind of exists, but like not by that name, not necessarily in that place, and yeah. But by and large, it is still our city.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love the detail. It's really good.
Yes. Any last parting thoughts about the game, about any of the mental health discussions that we've had with it, or anything along those lines?
I think a big part of like an kind of like an unspoken part of this campaign that was really kind of dope, and I think helped the campaign along a lot, was like the blackness of it. Honestly, it was just like an energy that radiated, even though we weren't inherently discussing that as an element. I feel like there was a moment where I was like, being black, being in Chicago, immediately we're like, no cops. We're not doing that. We're not doing the thing where like cops like matter to this campaign like a whole bunch. Even though we got really, really close to getting arrested that one time. Like really
Yeah.
close. I don't know. I think it brought like a different set of like ethics, and I think that just like, I think about that, and I think about the other campaigns that I've done and have been involved with, and I think there's a moment where like us as black people created a world that felt safe enough for us to get dangerous in.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like we were out of danger
Yeah, good
at
point.
any point.
God, no.
We were in danger the entire time, but it also was in a way
Yeah.
that was like, I felt incredibly held in the world that we lived in. And I felt like, oh, well, this is gonna be a moment where things are actually like, I don't know. I guess for lack of a better term, I just felt really held in this world, in this landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it had to do with like the energy of the people that were involved. And it's not lost on me that it just so happens that the first time I actually get in a tabletop RPG with like only black people is like a world where I feel like the most like agreed to, I guess.
Yeah, that's like such a good point because you made me think too. It's so ironic that we are in this fantasy world, but it feels realistic. Like the interactions, the banners, like banter, like you mentioned earlier, like that, like feels realistic, that feels comfortable, that feels like home, you know? So yeah, that's so real. And I mean, this being my first ever introduction to this type of game, I'm like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, I would not want to not have it be, if not all, majority Black folks and Black queer folks, if I can help it. But yeah,
Brought a whole different element, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and I also like the fact that like, so I backed this game. I backed 12 Inner Demons on Kickstarter and was super hyped about it and everything, and I wanted to play it, and then I had the idea to play it for the podcast as a way to bring the podcast back, and I wanted to do it only with Black queer folks. And it's been so amazing getting to like GM and play with you all, because this is a really heavy, dark game, but it was so fucking funny and so fun to play, even in its heaviness, even in the like stuff that came up, and then also just naturally having stuff that just comes up, and not knowing what was going to come up, because like we're not sitting here scripting it out. We're not sitting here being like, okay, like this episode we want to make sure there's themes about our relationship to work, and this one we want to make sure there's themes about our relationship to sleep and rest, and like, but those things came up so naturally just because of like who we are and how the game ended up playing, right? And like talking about grief and talking about sadness and talking about joy and talking about, death and suicide and rest and work and capitalism, and all of these things just came up because, we are who we are, and we were unapologetic about, bringing who we are into the characters and into the world. And I love, 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 love that. And I love all of you. And it's so good playing with you. And I want to explore more games and stuff with you all as well. And like possibly see if there's a way to run this where you win.
I love that not a single one of us could get through that without laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would love to.
That's gonna be a little rough, for sure.
Maybe if we start with having found 5 seals already, and we just join in for the last one.
It's like playing a video game to the final boss and then handing someone else the controller.
Exactly.
And then y'all still lose. Nah.
Probably.
Nah.
Yeah, we definitely would probably.
The way we roll, we might as well.
Yo, those dice were... Oof.
Yo, they were fucking with us.
Always.
That was so messed up.
When I got that, like, 3, the 10, 10, and the 8, I was like, wait, what?
That...
when was that even on the table?
That roll was epic because, okay, one last thing, and then I swear we're all going to get ourselves out of here. But, like, please, Jay, trust that was supposed to be for you. Like, I was coming to wreck your shit all the way, because you still had doomed until the end of that turn, and
yeah, I know. I was like, man, I'm supposed to.
That was gonna be 5 stress just right immediately with doomed, and so like that.
Yeah.
Was like, I was.
So you were
ready.
right about dying first.
I was ready.
Yeah.
I had the narration of like what it was gonna be like and all that. I had it all ready to go. And then you were like 10, 10, 8. And I was like, excuse?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Well, and then,
I don't know that I heard you.
yeah, and then I put it up to the camera. Was like, I'm not lying to you.
Just like, oh, okay, well, you're safe. Congratulations.
Gotta respect that when we had the bad rolls, we just let them be bad rolls.
Yeah.
But that was a amazing roll, and the dice wanted to tell a story. And
Clutch roll. That roll was so
Yeah.
clutch. Kind of,
Yeah.
because I still got my shit right.
Yeah, no, this.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Okay. Any last parting words for the end of the campaign?
Just thank you all so much. This has been like such a fun way to spend a Sunday.
Yes, seriously.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Normally, I'm just like getting ready for the week ahead, or I'm just like in my own brain about some stuff, and it's just been a really nice like, it's just been a really nice like world away. That's
Yeah.
just been such a breath of fresh air this whole time. Like, you know, like I legit got emotional sometimes playing this, you know, just because of how like
Oh, for
everything
sure.
lined up and felt, you know. It was
Yeah.
just such a really awesome thing. So I'm grateful to
Yeah.
you all, you know.
Yeah.
Same. I'm super grateful too. I mean, yeah, of course, you know, the reality of feeling burnt out is there for me for sure. But yeah, like I said, I enjoy playing like that. It's just fun. It's fun and it's creative, and this is definitely a part of my brain I don't like tap into as much as I'd like. So yeah, and I mean, Cassie, you like for real, you killed it. Like the narration, I mean the detail, all of
Yeah.
that. Like, so much thanks for that. Yeah, totally appreciate it. And I feel like Vita and like y'all acting skills, like low key, I'm like, yo, y'all really y'all are good. I know you didn't feel like that, Jay, but I was like, no, I feel like you embodied Imani. And I thought it was really, really
Yeah.
good.
Well, like she's a character I use a lot in like other contexts, so I've gotten a better feel for her. Typically, she has like a southern accent, but of course, I was not going to embarrass myself trying to do a southern accent all the time. Yeah, I had to kind of adapt her, but I mean, it's still always the same character, always kind of on edge, not really much of a people person, and yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's real.
Well, so it is with both a heart full of joy and also sadness that we conclude this playthrough of 12 Inner Demons, our campaign, Windy City Demons. And thank you, everyone who has listened and will listen to this series of Woke Mental Wellness Presents Windy City Demons. Please take care of yourselves. I hope you got something out of both the game and the discussions, and know that you're not alone, that mental health and wellness isn't just white shit. Gaming, like TTRPGs, also not just white shit.
Nope.
And that there is place and space for our joy and our creativity and our fun struggle. Not like struggle bus struggle, but like the fun of playing a hard game, like doing a hard puzzle and all of these things. And so hopefully this brought folks listening as much joy to listen to as it brought us to play. Hopefully, if you're feeling down, like please, you know, there's lots of resources hotlines, friends, community, family. There's support out there. So, if you are feeling low, you don't have to, sometimes your demons can help you, and sometimes they'll trick you. But regardless, you don't have to give in to them, because there's people around that are interested in helping. Sometimes they may be hard to find, but they're there. And so, thank you everyone for listening to our playthrough of 12 Inner Demons. This has been Woke Mental Wellness presents Windy City Demons. Take care of yourselves, and remember, it's not just white shit.